I just returned to Budapest after spending 3 months in Canada. I'm exhausted. Jet lag is a thing and my body hates me right now. I've been waking up at 3 a.m., wired after sleeping for 2 hours, and it's felt like I only blinked. I don't know if it's the jet lag or the fact that I'm going to have to watch a US based franchise take the Stanley Cup again. There's only so much of a magnesium supplement that my body is able to absorb and keep me down for any length of time. I feel like I'm neither asleep nor awake. Anyway, I don't even have the strength to do those little things I do for my videos, like the whole welcome to civilization stories where we blah, 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 blah. Not today. I'm also feeling especially emotional. And in this case, it's not the jet lag, but I'll explain why in a little bit. It seems that the only thing I can do half properly in this zombie-like state is play Civ. And man, I just finished a game as Confucius, and I'm trying to get that elusive science victory, which, if you've been a regular watcher of my channel, you'll know I think is a pretty pointless, self-indulgent victory condition in Civ 7. Well, my experience as Confucius playing a mostly peaceful, science-oriented strategy did not alleviate the problems with this game. It compounded them. Although I have found the 1.2.1 patch has made Civ 7 better and more challenging, it has somehow also become more tedious and frustrating, especially when it comes to the late game and setting upon the path to victory. I plan to do a video about the idea of late game fatigue at some point, but what I find beyond stupid is the fact that this one perceived problem of previous Civ games that developers set out to address has somehow gotten worse. I will make a video about how my game with Confucius went down and why I found it so frustrating, but for now, just know that my late game involved a war with Ibn Battuta to ensure that he, don't know which Civ or whatever, blah, 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 didn't win ahead of me, followed by a series of city screens, mindlessly placing specialists and grabbing growth event terrain. For the last 30 plus turns, every unit on my map was essentially static. So here we are, June 2025. What, 5 months, half a year since launch? And today the 1.2.2 patch was released. It's meant to address bugs, add UI polish and quality of life improvements, tweaks and balances, as well as new city-state bonuses, religious pantheons and beliefs. They're also adding things that we can all admit should have been there since day one, like large and huge map types that, with only 10 civs per age, could begin to seem sparse. I gotta tell you, I've read this June 10th check-in a few times now, and there is very little that gets me excited. You might see things creeping around the net, like massive changes coming to Civ 7 or biggest patch yet. But let's go through some of the key points, and I'll explain why most of this is bad more than it is good. And remember, when I say all this, that it is not because I hate Civ 7 or that I hate Civ. I love Civ. If you've been around my channel a bit, you know that my feelings for Civ run incredibly deep. I know how strange it is to say, but it's been an important part of my life. It was a place I could always go to keep myself entertained and happy even in the worst of times. Let me repeat myself. I love Civ, which is why it is all the more disheartening to watch developers take it in the direction that it has gone. So if I ever come across as a hater or a Firaxis basher, please understand that it brings me no joy. I would much rather make videos waxing effusively on how glorious this golden age of Civ gaming has brightened my world. But I can't do that. First, let's look on the bright side of this check-in. Steam Workshop support is always a step in the right direction. In the section titled The Journey So Far and What's Ahead, Firaxis addressed recurring themes we've seen in player feedback and included: age transitions can feel abrupt, game replayability needs more depth, and there's room for improving the player's sense of empire identity and continuity throughout a multi-age campaign. All of this is true and echoes what I've been saying on this channel for some time. Now, although it is extremely soft in tone, this is in some small way Firaxis admitting that some of their self-professed big swings struck out. However, in the lead up to that admonition, they state that their goal with Civ 7 was to move beyond static empire building and into something more dynamic, where your civilization evolves and reinvents itself over time. I believe that words matter, And the words they've chosen to use here are tantamount to gaslighting. Let's try that sentence again and take out the words that are inserted to shape your opinion. Our goal: to move beyond empire building into something where your civilization evolves and reinvents itself over time. Don't tell me that building an empire to stand the test of time is static and that the game mechanics you tested out on us are more dynamic. I'm not buying it. I have played countless games of Civ where my empire/civilization evolved and reinvented itself without anyone needing to fist it into the game for me. Civs evolving and reinventing themselves has been baked into every Civ game since 1991 simply by the way Civs interacted, not because the age got to 100%. Evolution happens because of pressure, not because nature says it's time. It is not willed from on high. It's a process. They acknowledge that addressing all of this feedback will take time, but this tactic using this kind of wordplay is just so smarmy. And before I say what I'm going to say next, I want to acknowledge all of those out there and anyone who might be watching this video that feel that Civ 7 is the bee's knees and that Firaxis hit it out of the park with this one. If you love Civ 7 just the way it is, I can accept that and that's fine. And sorry if you're a Civ 7 diehard and can't stand people like me repeating over and over again the number of players playing on the Steam platform. But unless you've been living under a rock for the last half year, it's important for building context. The number of current players of Civ 7 still lags far behind Civ 6 and is only bringing in half as many players as Civ 5. Firaxis publishing the idea of addressing this kind of feedback in their update is really them looking at cold hard numbers and going, we f***ed up, because numbers do not lie. And what Firaxis really needs to do is win their very loyal audience back. Tiptoeing around that idea, in my humble opinion, is not the way to do that. Do I think they should backtrack completely on Civ 7? No. In there are the bones of what could be a really interesting game, but do I think they should come out and say plainly that their vision for Civ 7 was not a reflection of its fan base? Yes. I have made countless mistakes. Making mistakes is part of life. Listen to Yoda from that movie you probably hate.
The greatest teacher failure is.
He's not wrong. What is it about this idea that admitting to one's failings is to show some kind of weakness? I have no problem with people who make mistakes. Ye without sin cast the first stone. What I do have a problem with is people who clearly make mistakes and who either refuse to see it or can't admit it. Do I think it's easy to do? No. Is it necessary? Probably yes. Firaxis, if you want the folks that are still playing Civs 5 and 6 to jump ship and get on board with you, own this situation and publish a check-in that promises a return to the core philosophies that made Civilization games the standout of the 4X genre for the last 3 decades. So, what should become of Civ 7? Scrap heap? No. I think there is a way forward to use some of the best parts of Civ 7 that can be integrated into a more sandboxy version of itself. There is, after all, a lot of Civilization gaming to draw on. However, if we look at some of the changes coming in the new advanced game options section, these are clearly meant to address backlash to some of those big swings. They even mention that they are designed for players searching for a more sandbox-style experience, something that's been repeated on this channel before. It includes turning the legacy paths on or off. What this will do for victory conditions is anyone's guess. Players will now be able to choose which crises will show up in their games. This is, I mean, why they are sticking with this mechanic at all is just, I mean, they've added a custom AI difficulty. I mean, if you could see me, you'd see me rolling my eyes. Players can now bypass the Civ unlocks, meaning there is no requirement or limit to what Civ you can choose as you advance from one age to the next. Again, picture me rolling my eyes. We hate Civ switching. We hate it. This doesn't make the game more sandboxy. It's just bad. Players can now also adjust the hostility of independent powers. I mean, fine. I think there is way more you can do with independent powers that would improve them. Making them a little more lasting and not switching from age to age would be a nice start. But whatever. I know they pumped a lot of manpower into these changes, but none of them are going to win back the players that they lost. Are there really any halfway in players at this point where choosing any Civ during the age change is going to make the difference in their love or disdain for Civ 7? When I made my in-depth review, this is what worried me the most, was that the fundamental flaws in the game were too deep, and they had strayed so far from the core philosophies of civilization that they would not be able to make the necessary drastic course correction. With some of these updates, it feels like they're just putting in spackle, filling in the cracks of a house that's half burned to the ground, and they are using up more and more players' goodwill in the process. They actually get further away from turning Civ 7 into the game it needs to be. Changes like these advanced game mode options, by giving players more customization to their games, seems like giving players more freedom to have the game experience they crave. It sounds like a positive, but it's not. It's passing the buck onto the player as if to say, if you don't like what we've done, just change it to suit your needs. Sure, a certain amount of customization is necessary, but these are game mechanics that are core to the game itself and the developer's vision. The fact that they are allowing players to tweak away at them says something. I trust that there are larger, more impactful expansions, patches, and DLCs down the road. In fact, it is the first expansion, whenever it arrives, that will really shape the future of Civ 7. If Firaxis can swing an about face, truly return the game to the sandbox, and stash this current version into a mobile gaming mode, we'll have a better sense that they have put the game back on the right track. If they double down on the current core mechanics by allowing more tweaks and customization to the parts of the game that don't work for fans, then Firaxis will have to satisfy itself with continued low numbers of players and the low sales record that goes with it. Such a fate could also jeopardize the release of Civ 8. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. We will see how this 1.2.2 patch actually shapes out. Perhaps my pessimism will not last, but I'm doubtful. All right, that's it for me. I need sleep, or do I? Honestly, I can't tell. I took the red eye over here. Flight left at like 11 p.m., and I'm pretty sure I slept for most of it. Part of me thinks that's a good thing, but then I think to myself, what if I had just had a coffee, rallied, and tried to power through? Would I have arrived in European time more exhausted and therefore slept longer that first night, allowing me to wake up in the morning more fully refreshed and prepared to make it through the first full set of 24 hours, more, fully adjusted to the new time zone? I mean, maybe it's possible, right? I don't know. It's hard to say. And then there's the fact that my work schedule has been more full than usual lately, so that's kept my brain cells